In my opinion, October is a really underrated month in the garden. The summer heat is finally gone, making it much easier to work outdoors and spend time in the garden. Plus, the insect pressure is much less than it's been in previous months. So, today in the garden, I'm sharing 12 cool season crops that I'm planting this October in my backyard garden. I'm Mylan Turner, and this is my garden, ATL Grow. I'm an urban gardener located in Atlanta, Georgia. My zone is 8A. My goal is to help inspire you to grow your own food and to guide you along the way. If you watched September's planting video, I went over some key considerations for planting a fall garden. I won't go into too much detail covering all that information again, but the thing that I want you to keep most in mind for October is getting your seeds planted while it's still warm enough outdoors. And maybe even more importantly, make sure that all the crops that you're planting are frost tolerant. Here are the 12 crops I'm planting this October in my fall garden. The first crop that I'm planting is beets. The variety that I'm planting is Golden Boy beets, and the seeds are from Botanical Interest. Golden beets are a variety that I planted for the first time last fall, and they were an instant hit. I find the flavor to be a tad milder than the traditional red beet, and they're super sweet. When planting beets, I like to follow the square foot gardening guidelines and plant 9 per square foot. The sowing depth for these is going to be about a ½ inch deep. With October weather, if we continue to get these mild temps and plenty of rain, these seeds should germinate anywhere from 7 to 10 days. The Golden Boy beets reach maturity in 65 to 70 days. One thing to keep in mind though is that with the shorter day lengths of fall, that may take a little bit longer. If you get hit with an early first frost, don't worry, these are frost tolerant. You can actually leave them in the ground throughout winter and they'll develop an even sweeter flavor. If you're not a big fan of beets, give the golden variety a try. The milder flavor and the intense sweetness is something that I think will win a lot of people over. One thing that I forgot to mention that I enjoy about growing the Golden Boy beets, the leaves, which you can harvest along the way, grow up in green and golden color in comparison to the Detroit red and the bull's blood beets. Those have deep red or green leaves. The next crop that I'm planting today is leeks. I'm planting the King Richard variety, and these seeds are from Botanical Interest. The 2 beds that you see beside me are roughly 3 by 6 feet, so I'm dividing each bed into 3 rows. And I've selected crops that will grow well together as companions based off of the height that they grow and their needs. The leeks have a mild but rich onion flavor that make them really good for soups, stir fries, or salads. The King Richard leeks grow tall, green and white slender stems. Leeks can be planted 4 per square foot. Your planting depth for leeks is about a ¼ inch. It should take anywhere from 7 to 14 days for these seeds to sprout. These leeks will mature in about 75 days. These leeks are frost tolerant down to 20 degrees, so we shouldn't have any issues growing them over winter here in Atlanta. They can be left in the garden for an extended harvest, so we should be able to carry these all the way through the spring. The next crop that I've selected for this bed is collards. I'm planting the Georgia Southern variety from True Leaf Market. This crop is actually a repeat from my September planting video. As I mentioned in that video, I'm planting another round in what's called succession sowing. So as that first round continues to grow and mature, I'll have another round to follow that up, which will carry me through the spring. So as the first round of plants continues to grow and mature, I'll have a second round of younger plants that will grow and mature well through spring. The Georgia Southern variety is one that I've grown repeatedly for the past 3 years, and it's performed well every time. When planting this one, I do deviate from square foot gardening and I only plant 1 per square foot. I found that using the cut and come again method, I'm able to continuously harvest these so they get a little bit bigger and fuller. For my first round of collards, I started those from seed indoors because it was still too warm. With this round, because I want more of a staggered growth, I'm actually direct sowing. Planting depth for these is about a ½ inch. If you plant these in your garden, you can expect germination in 7 to 10 days. You can harvest in 30 to 45 days if you like the baby greens, or you can continue to let them mature for 60 to 75 days for fuller tender greens. The round that I'm planting today should be ready just in time for New Year's dinner. Moving over to this bed, my next crop is carrots. I've selected the Danvers 126 variety. This is an heirloom variety that dates back to the 19th century, and it was bred in Danvers, Massachusetts. It's a really versatile carrot from the standpoint that it's heat tolerant, but it actually does really well in cool weather, developing a sweeter flavor as temps drop. It's said to be resistant to cracks and splitting, which makes it a good pick if you store your carrots long term. Carrots are a crop that you want to direct sow. Transplanting them can stunt their growth. I am sowing 16 carrots per square foot. When planting, you want to plant them very lightly at a depth of just about a quarter inch. Getting carrots to germinate can be a little tricky in this heat. Some people like to cover them with boards or even cardboard to help trap in moisture. In my case, I've found that by keeping them well watered, maybe twice a day, helps germination. It can take anywhere from 10 to 25 days to see your seeds sprout. This Danvers variety matures in about 65 days. I have to keep saying it though, in fall with shorter day lengths, that can take a little bit longer. These carrots are frost tolerant, so they can also be left in the ground throughout winter. The next crop today is parsnips. I'm planting the All-American variety from Botanical Interest. This variety thickens early in about 95 days. Parsnips are a tender root crop, very similar to carrots. They produce long white roots that grow deep into the soil. They're really versatile in the kitchen. I found them to be delicious in stir fries, mashed, roasted, and even in soups. This is a good pick for this time of year because the cold temps make the starches in the parsnips a lot sweeter. I'm sowing my parsnips at 4 per square foot. They get a lot bigger than carrots. The planting depth for these is going to be about a ½ inch. Germination time is similar to carrots at 10 to 25 days. And same thing, you just got to keep the soil moist in order to get constant germination. Another key difference between carrots and parsnips is maturity. These take significantly longer in 95 to 125 days. Be sure to plant enough to leave them in ground throughout winter. You can continuously harvest throughout the season and keep them going. One other tip when planting parsnips, I'm actually not doing it, but these are one that you can soak, and that's said to help with germination. It's a little easier with these because they're bigger than the carrot seeds. The next crop that I'm planting in this bed is Bok Choy. This is your traditional Bok Choy variety from True Leaf Market. I started these seeds indoors about 6 weeks ago, and I've spent the past week hardening them off. They're nice and full and ready to be planted. With these plants, I'll be planting 2 per square foot. To have continual harvest, I'll be succession sowing more bok choy seeds in my green stalk garden later this week. Bok choy is one of those vegetables I didn't have a lot of experience with until I started gardening. And then once I had it, it's one that I really enjoy. You can start to harvest at this stage. The leaves are really sweet and tender, or you can continue to let them grow throughout the season following the cut and come again method. At the younger stages, I enjoy them raw, just right out of the garden. And as they get older, I like to chop them up for stir fries. They're a really versatile Asian green that are great to have in your garden. Moving around to this bed for my next crop, which is cabbage. This variety is early round cabbage, and these seeds are from Haas Tools. This is another crop that I started indoors about 6 weeks ago. As you can see, their seedlings are nice and full and they're ready for planting. I've tried growing cabbage 2 other times now, and I haven't had much luck. The cabbage worms have taken me out the 2 previous times. I've had nice full round heads of cabbage, but deep inside, the worms have been eating the cabbage from the core. I'm hoping, though, that by planting in October, I should see much less cabbage worms, and I'll be taking some preventative steps this time. Starting from seed has given these a really nice head start, so I'm expecting to see them mature at about 60 to 80 days. As with most of the other crops that I'm covering today, these benefit from cooler temps as well. That should help them develop a really rich flavor that'll be great in a variety of dishes. I'm looking forward most to steamed and sauteed cabbage. I may even try my hand at sauerkraut this year. We'll see. The next crop that I'm going over today is kale. I'm planting 3 different varieties in the row behind the cabbages. The 3 varieties that I'm planting today are lacinato, red Russian, and dwarf blue curl. This is another crop where I'm deviating away from square foot gardening a bit. Instead of the recommended 4 per square foot, I'm only going to plant 1 per square foot. But I'm going to plant multiple to allow them to get a little bit bushier. And since I'm growing 3 different varieties, I'll have plenty. Planting conditions for all 3 of these are the same. You want to sow them at a depth of about a quarter inch. I prefer baby kale greens, so I'll start harvesting mine in as little as 30 days. For more mature kale, start harvesting around 60 days. For the baby greens, I like them in salads and smoothies. As they get more mature, I like to have them either sauteed or cooked traditional southern green style. All 3 of these varieties are cold hardy. The next crop that I'm planting today is peas. I'm growing Oregon Sugar Pod 2 from Botanical Interest. This bed is longer and narrower than the other 2, so I decided to use it for peas. I'm installing 2 tomato cages that will allow the peas to climb. I'm planting peas every 2 inches around the base of the trellis. Planting depth is about a ½ inch given the larger size of the peas. This variety has vines that grows up to about 3 feet, which makes it perfect for these trellises. Peas typically germinate really quickly. I expect to see them in anywhere from 5 to 10 days. The Oregon sugar pod variety matures pretty quick in about 60 days. You'll want to harvest the seeds early. Look for them to be flat and get them before the peas form. Homegrown peas are so much better than store-bought. Add them to your garden and let me know if you can taste the difference. Next to each trellis, I'm planting my next crop, which is Swiss chard. I'm planting the ruby red variety, and these are from True Leaf Market. This variety features bright red stems and deep green leaves. They provide a really striking visual in your fall and winter garden. Swiss chard grows 18 to 24 inches in height and is packed with vitamins and minerals. I'm sowing my seeds at a depth of about a ½ inch. I am following square foot guidelines with this one, and I'm planting 4 per square foot. I'm planting this crop more densely because I prefer an early harvest. My favorite way to prepare Swiss chard is sauteed with my eggs in the morning. I also enjoy the baby greens and salads. They add a little bit more depth and flavor than just your boring lettuce. Now, if you're keeping count, that was 12 crops. But I'm going to sneak in 2 more. These crops are really good for planting at empty spaces in your garden. They take up very little space in the garden and they're super easy to grow. The next crop is radish, and I'm planting the cherry bell variety. The seeds are from Botanical Interest. This variety has a nice spicy taste, which I actually really enjoy. Following square foot gardening, plant them densely at about 9 per square foot. Plant them to a depth of about a ½ inch. They germinate really quickly. I've seen them sprout in as little as 3 days, but typically you'll see them in 5 to 7 days. The other reason that I really enjoy cherry bell radish is that they mature really quickly. They go from seed to harvest in about 25 to 30 days. My next crop is bunching onions. I'm planting the white Lisbon variety from Botanical Interest. You can plant these as many as 16 per square foot. The planting depth on these is really shallow. You're going to only need about a ½ inch. Germination time for spring onions is going to be about 2 weeks. They reach maturity in about 60 days, but you can also harvest them early for young spring onions. This is a variety that's been around for hundreds of years and it's really popular in gardens all over. It can grow in a wide variety of conditions, so give it a try in your garden. And that's actually 14 crops that I'm planting in my garden this October. If you'd like to keep up with more of my gardening adventures, please like the channel and subscribe so that you can learn and grow along with us.